back on YouTube land again. I thought this would be a great time for us to talk about curriculum because it's the end of the year and we are transitioning some curriculum. But what I wanted to do is talk about the curriculum that we've used for the last 5 years, what we liked, what we didn't like, what we're transitioning out of, and just kind of give you some ideas of curriculum you might want to look into. Okay, so my husband is cutting the grass. I apologize if that is loud. I still have not found a great place to record these videos in our new house. I'm in the closet. This is like the quietest space that has a space that isn't like there isn't a bunch of stuff everywhere. So that's where we're at today. And we are going to talk about curriculum. So I'm going to go really quick through the curriculum we've used for the last 5 years because nobody's got time to watch like a hour-long video, okay? So I'm going to tell you the name of the curriculum, what I liked about it, and kind of how I would rate it as far as how it compares to other things that we've used. Okay, so we're going to start with Bible, and I have to tell you, we've only been homeschooling for 5 years. That doesn't seem like it's been that long, but so much has changed over the last 5 years, and I had to actually go back and try to figure out, okay, what do we use the first year we homeschooled for Bible? We used this curriculum called Route 66. I actually found it on Amazon, and I love that curriculum for the ages and stages that my kids were in because when we started homeschooling, my 2 older ones were in elementary school. I had one that was, I think, in 2nd grade, if I'm remembering right, and then the other one was in 4th grade, and then I had a preschooler, and I had a baby, and it was just fantastic because there were lots of coloring pages and activities. What I loved about this curriculum is it takes you from the beginning of the Bible on through the end of the Bible. So it gave my kids an understanding of how the Bible is from beginning to end, and it was very appropriate for elementary ages. So I give this one 10 out of 10. Definitely recommend it. It was a wonderful curriculum. Year 2, we did not consumed Bible studies. That was actually year 2 and I believe part of 3. These are fantastic because they come with books for the teacher or the parent, and then kids for each of their stages and ages, and then there's lots of activities, lots of discussion. These Bible studies are focused on a certain topic, like there's one that is like getting along with your siblings. There's another one about being a servant. And so I enjoy doing those with the kids. And the cool thing is since they're broken down by ages, my 2 older kids would kind of go off and do a discussion on their own. And then I would work with my 2 younger kids, and then we'd come together and discuss what we read and what we studied. And I definitely recommend these if you like unit style type Bible studies, because that is very much what these are. It focuses on a specific topic. It doesn't necessarily take you from the beginning of the Bible to the end or like a whole book of the Bible. I'm linking all of these things below for you so that you can look them up as you're selecting your curriculum for this year. But they're Bible studies I definitely recommend. They're wonderful. Even if you don't homeschool, just to do as a family, they're great Bible studies. Our last formal curriculum that we did was the Answers in Genesis curriculum, and I just absolutely love that curriculum. It really digs into the Bible, it digs into theology, and it is going not through the Bible the way it's in the Bible, like Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, moving on from there, but it is chronological. So that first Bible study we did the very first year we homeschooled, that took the kids through the Bible as the books of the Bible are in our Bible that we use today, right? But that's not chronological. And so now that my kids are older, I wanted them to understand that, those books, as we read them and as they're listed in the Bible, are not chronological. And so I wanted them to understand the Bible from this perspective of the timeline. And so that is what we were working through. And we did book 1. This past year, we were going to do book 2, but we had a crazy year. I had health things. My husband had health things. We were working out things in our relationship, and it was just one of those homeschool years where life was lifing, right? And we had to say, okay, we need to par down some of this curriculum. And so we didn't end up jumping into book 2 last year, but we will jump into that this year. But definitely highly recommend that, especially for older kids. Now, this year for Bible, because it was such a crazy year, we did not use a formal curriculum. I just kind of put together different topics for our kids, and we just studied a book of the Bible every 4 to 6 weeks. We'll kind of include some of the resources we use, but I just pulled different resources as we were going through the books of the Bible. On Right Now Media, they have these wonderful videos called Backroads Bible. We were using that. We used videos from the Bible Project just to kind of summarize the books that we were doing and give the kids kind of a glimpse into what we would be reading through. We did that 3 to 4 days a week, and then I would do an individual Bible study with my 2 older kids and my 2 younger kids. My 2 older kids, we did a Bible study that is from New Growth Press. That's a fantastic company. If you have not heard of them, they have wonderful books, wonderful Bible studies. And we did a Bible study that I believe was called Just Us Girls. I'll link it below just in case that is not the name. But that was really great. It's one to do with mothers and daughters, or mother figures and daughters, and we have really enjoyed that. Then my younger kids, we would watch a video on Right Now Media, and then a lot of those have questions that you can answer together, and we would just talk through that together. And so that's kind of what we did. It was more relaxed. It was not as curriculum based. Next, let's talk about everybody's favorite, math. I actually really do enjoy math. My oldest daughter has started algebra and I love it. I know it's weird, but it's just, I just love it. And I have since I was a kid. But as far as math goes, when we very first started homeschooling, if you look back at our older videos, we started with The Good and the Beautiful. That was, I looked at all the curriculum that I did as a child, or that I had knowledge of, and all of it was just like so bulky and so expensive. And to be honest, like I wasn't 100% committed when we started homeschooling. I was kind of like, okay, we're going to take this year by year. Good and the Beautiful has some free curriculum and very low cost curriculum. So I thought it would be a good place for us to start, especially for me to get to know kind of how my kids learn, because that was my first experience really having them home full time working with them. And so we started with The Good and the Beautiful. And I will say, for us personally, The Good and the Beautiful worked out fantastic for grades like preschool through 4th grade. And after 4th grade, it just the curriculum felt like it was a lot, and my kids weren't really enjoying it. And so my older kids have transitioned into teaching textbooks. I just enjoy teaching textbooks a whole lot more than The Good and the Beautiful for the older ages, because the kids can get on there. We use the online program. They do the lessons. It automatically grades it and puts it on the grade book, which is fantastic. If there is a lesson in which they score low, then we can pause at that point. And they also have printable worksheets and the printable lessons on there, so we can actually go through each and every, problem that they struggled with, and then they can do some practice problems just to make sure that they understand the concepts being covered. And so that's just been more enjoyable for those older ages. So I would say, this is my own personal opinion. I know some people love The Good and the Beautiful, and maybe you are doing it in high school and you love it. But for me personally, I will say for The Good and the Beautiful, preschool through 4, I give it a 10 out of 10. I think it has done a wonderful job preparing my kids for higher level math. But then after that, like 5th up, I really appreciate teaching textbooks, especially for us moms that are homeschooling multiple kids. I think it's perfect. Next up, language arts. Once again, we started with The Good and the Beautiful for language arts, mainly because it was low cost and free. And that also worked wonderfully for the earlier years. But the highest level we got in language arts was, I believe, level 5 or level 6. And after that, once again, it was so heavy. There was so much to do. It was taking an hour and a half. It was just taking way too much time. But I think overall, preschool through 4th grade, 10 out of 10. I think Good and Beautiful is a wonderful curriculum to start with, especially because it is low cost and free for those homeschooling families with younger kids or that are just jumping in. Now, moving into those middle school, high school years, we have been using analytical grammar, say that 10 times fast. And it's been great. It's been wonderful. They're very precise lessons. It's not really flashy. It's not really exciting, but I think my kids appreciate that they can just read through it and work through it. And I feel like they've learned a lot through that. As far as writing goes, we've done Beyond the Book Report. We've really enjoyed that curriculum. Beyond the Book Report, I think it's fantastic, especially for those middle school ages. I give that 10 out of 10, definitely. It has covered a lot as far as writing. We've done Writing and Rhetoric. Really enjoy this a lot. It's very thorough. It gives kids a good idea of writing, different types of writing, the writing process. Once again, 10 out of 10 for that. I know we're talking about language arts, but we might as well flow into handwriting. For handwriting, we use The Good and the Beautiful in the beginning, and then we just have transitioned out of that. We enjoy the Good and the Beautiful writing curriculum. There's nothing wrong with it. The art component is really wonderful, especially if you have kids that enjoy art and are very artistic. But then I've transitioned my younger kids into Handwriting Without Tears. We've really enjoyed that too. Similar curriculums, but also a little bit different. But I give them both 10 out of 10. They're both great options as far as writing. So then science. So we do science and history as family units. The same thing with Bible. We do it all together. So for science, we have done the Good and the Beautiful science units and have enjoyed them. We are finished with them. We have done all the Good and the Beautiful science units, and my goal for my kids in elementary school is to have an introduction to all sciences. And so my oldest daughter, who's transitioning into high school, she's had that. She will transition into a high school curriculum and dive deeper into some of these concepts, but I think the Good and the Beautiful science units are fantastic. They're very engaging. There's lots of hands-on activities, and the videos that go along with them are wonderful. In addition to the videos that were provided by the Good and the Beautiful curriculum, we used Generation Genius. It is a wonderful website that has tons of videos for science. They also have math videos, and so we would use those as well. They're really engaging for kids. I actually used it in one of our co-op classes this past session because we did a science lab class, and so definitely recommend checking that out. 10 for both of those things, the Good and the Beautiful units and the science units, and then also Generation Genius. Wonderful options as far as science goes. Now, history. For history, we use The Story of the World. This was recommended to me when we started our homeschool journey. I kind of put my feelers out there and I asked homeschool moms, okay, what history curriculum do you use for your kids? Our history time is very discussion based, and because of this, it has kind of taken us a long time to get through history, and I'll pull in historical documents and different, things too, because I enjoy history and my kids have come to love it as we've homeschooled. But yes, we have used The Story of the World. I highly recommend this curriculum for elementary and middle school. It's fantastic. There are so many activities in each chapter to just bring each piece of history alive. Lots of different printables. As we're working in this last book, and we haven't quite finished it, we're probably like halfway through it at this point, and we'll finish it at the end of the summer, and then the kids will, we'll move on to our next year of history. But I appreciate the progression that The Story of the World uses. That very first book when we started homeschooling was very elementary school focused. Lots of coloring pages, lots of activities that are appealing for younger children. As we move through the curriculum, and now being in the last book of that curriculum, they have outlines that are for the kids. I've been able to easily have them write research papers, which I know that's not always necessary, but I do want my kids to be good writers and good communicators. I feel like that's so important for just life in general. I do like the fact that it teaches about other religions and what was happening in the whole scope of the world. Our family has personally kind of steered clear of a lot of Christian curriculum just because, and even when it comes to science, like I need my kids to understand that there's like a world outside of that. And I really want them to understand like what was happening with everybody and what these people groups were doing, because I think sometimes when you get history from one perspective, it can be confusing as to how this other thing happened, right? But when we can look at, oh, okay, this was their perspective and this was their perspective, it gives a little more clarity into, okay, this is how we got to this point. This is how this thing happened. All right, friends, I hope this was helpful. I hope it was quick. I was trying not to make it too long. I love sharing about homeschooling, and I love sharing encouragement. And it was just so wonderful a few years ago to connect with all of you and hear your stories and what was happening in your homeschool life. And I'm excited to get there again. So I will see you in the next video. And as as always, I sincerely hope you are enjoying this amazing road of life.